All right, so let's get going. We have a good number of people joining here. So again, my name is Grandmaster Eugene Perelshteyn, and today I will be showing you some very instructive games in a system that is relatively rare in the Nimzo Indian Queen C2 variation, where Black plays Knight to C6. Okay, so let's get going. The first game I want to show you is against none other than top player in the world these days, Hikaru Nakamura. I think he's number 3 in the world, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe the rankings have changed, but he's definitely one of the best players. And he's even not a professional chess player anymore. He's a streamer, and I'm sure everybody has been watching Hikaru dominate the streaming world. He does a lot of online Title Tuesday, but back in the day, we were competing in the same tournaments. He was already 26-14 at the time of this game. And let's take a look. So he's white. And Hikaru did not know this line. So this is good. I got him, caught him unprepared. So d4, knight f6, c4, e6, and the Nimzo Indian move is the move knight to c3. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about a different opening briefly to explain to you what I plan to play against knight f3 and show you the similarity between the two openings. So here I played bishop to b4. This is the Nimzo Indian. Everybody knows that, right, guys? White has lots and lots of ways to challenge this move. Hikaru plays queen c2. I would say to this day, together with e3, queen c2 is considered the most popular move. It was played by Alekhine back in the day, Kasparov. Famous players play this move. The idea is simple. At some point, you're going to play a3, and the queen guards the knight. The additional benefit, the queen also keeps knight on the e4 square, where white can sometimes play pawn to e4. Okay, so pay attention to how the game continues. I played knight to c6. Now, how many of you have seen this move or studied this move in the chat? So focus, please, guys. Let me know in the chat. Knight c6. Anybody? Never? I'm pretty sure it's a rare move, but I'm just curious. Ah, yes, you faced it. Okay, yes. Nope. No. Anybody else? So it looks like a majority of you have never faced or seen or studied this move, which is good, because Hikaru was also not familiar with this move. The idea is actually quite simple. The queen has left the d1 square. Nobody's guarding that pawn. And after the move knight f3, I play this move d6. First, though, I messed up myself. This is my first game with this opening. Castle is actually an inaccuracy. It ended up not mattering for the game, but I'll explain to you why castle is not the right move. So first Hikaru plays bishop g5. I kick the bishop. Now, of course, bishop h4 is the autopilot move, but Hikaru plays bishop takes f6. And after queen takes f6, we get into this very instructive structure. a3, I have to take the knight, queen takes, and d6. So remember this position, okay, guys? I want to play for e5. This is dream for black. Hikaru messed up already, but he didn't really know the line. Now, let me go back a few moves and explain to you the subtleties of this opening. Let's roll all the way back. As a matter of fact, I'm going to even roll way back here because I feel like it's instructive to understand the concepts first before we go into the variations. So there's this opening called the Bogo Indian. Have you guys heard or seen this move, bishop to b4 check? Okay, so at least everybody has seen or heard or familiar with this. And the main line, I accidentally played it. Okay, sometimes it happens. The main line is bishop d2. Knight bd2 is a separate chapter altogether. And here, after the moves queen e7, Besides queen e7, there's a5, c5, g3, okay? Knight c6, bishop g2, all theory. Bishop takes d2. It's very important for white not to autopilot play queen takes d2. How many of you would play queen takes d2 in a heartbeat here? Good. So a lot of you will fall for this famous trap. So it's kind of a well-known trap. The idea is, generally speaking, the knight wants to come to c3. For instance, castles, knight c3. This is where the knight belongs in this opening. But of course, because I played the sneaky move knight c6, knight e4 is very unpleasant to face. Check. And who wants to guess the best move in this position for white? The best move in this position. It is absolutely correct, king f1. Now, no human is going to play a move like that with no regret. I mean, you lost the right to castle, but it tells you that white already probably messed up a little bit, because after knight c3, this is a very unpleasant endgame with these double pawns, right? I'm going to play knight a5, d6, king e7, maybe rook b8, b6, and slowly try to take advantage of those pawns. This is a kind of a blunder, knight bd2, right? Everybody sees why. You have to either lose the central pawn or the c pawn. Although even this position people have tried to make work. After all, black's pieces are a little bit behind in development, but it's not that easy. I think white's compensation is just enough for quality, no more. So yes, if you do play king f1, at least white may try to do something, but yes, it's not an easy one to commit. So that's why the main move in theory for decades, if not more, was knight takes d2, new main line, castles, castles, and we get this very instructive pawn structure. Okay, so this is a King's Indian pawn formation against these pawns. Black typically plays a5, knight a6, knight c5, and sometimes we even undermine this pawn with f5, but with a twist. Dark square bishops are not present, which is good for black, right? Because black has this bishop on g7, and this knight should be on c3. It's misplaced on d2. Because of these reasons, this line of the bogo is considered very, very safe. Yeah, white's bishop on g2 is kind of, it's protecting the king, but at the same time, it doesn't really have much counterplay. So knowing this concept, the concept is at some point the bishop gets traded. You play this and this, right? Let's compare that to my game against Hikaru, which is a totally different opening. But again, it's all about the concepts and the ideas. I played here. I played here. Hikaru plays here. Now, more accurate move. In the game, I played inaccurate. More accurate is to play d6. Okay? And only after this, h6. And there's a cool little trap. How many of you would autopilot play the bishop on h4 in this position? Let's see what people say in the chat. Me, why not, right? Okay, let's see. So we have at least a couple of people fallen for this trap. Yeah, it is the autopilot move unless you know the trap. So now who can tell me the famous trap? Maybe you guys have seen my videos or have studied this position. Bishop h4 is a big blunder. Yep, Owen is right. Okay, yep, Sam's got it. Good job, guys. So most of you are getting this. So the point is now g5. That is why against Hikaru, I should have played d6 first, because after castling, I may allow a piece sack on g5, which still should be good for me, but you know, it's a little dangerous for black. Now the piece sack never works. The king is totally safe. And bam, bam. Not only is this knight under attack, but the funny part, there is a little continuation of the trap. There's a double trap, especially for like blitz bullet players out there. Uh-oh. As Hikaru likes to say, spaghettios. We have a little family fork going on. That's it. That's game over. Now, you can actually look it up online, how many people fell for this trap. I bet you a pretty big number of people played bishop h4 in autopilot. Yeah, that's a lot, right? And so if d5, you just take the free pawn. So it takes. And the key is you're actually not worried about this check at all. Black is better. So again, this is the trap. Going back to the game, I played a slightly different move order. I played castles, okay? So this is what I played in the game. Let me promote this. Okay, now this, of course, allows Hikaru to go here, and sack. Although, I don't know, guys, if he would have gone for this position. But also, after this, you see how my king is wide open on g8. This is not as good. This is not as good for black. So you don't want to go into this version of this trap. So the best way to do this is you should start with d6, don't commit the king, and only now bishop h4 is a big blunder. You win a pawn. So the correct move is bishop back to d2, admitting your mistake that the bishop never belongs there anyways. And the main line in this position is bishop d2, which is another big chapter, okay? So if we have time, we'll get to that later. So this is the goal. White should try not to put the bishop there. White plays here, takes with bishop. It is a big fight ahead. Now, Hikaru didn't know that. I played slight inaccuracy. He took on f6, which is obviously what black wants to see. Because after a3 takes, for those who are paying attention, what are we getting here? We're getting the BOGO with e5. Hikaru played rook d1 first. I played e5, d5. Who can tell me where I should put this knight? It's actually a little bit of a trick question. Let's see what people are saying. b8, of course, if you paid attention to what I showed earlier, b8 is not a bad move at all. But in this concrete game, I said, why not put it on e7? I'm going to attack the king. If Hikaru goes for this plan, the knight's already one step closer, right, to where it belongs. You know, I don't have to go for the super long journey. So, by the way, according to the engine, both moves are very comfortable. If not, maybe quality for black, at least I would say maybe black is better, honestly, because white is really behind in development. So you don't get, this is why I said it's a trick question. As long as you don't say knight d8, you got it right. Right, knight d8 is an absolutely horrible move where knight is restricted by the pawn, but e7 or b8 works. So now we have a dream BOGO Indian, right? We have this structure. We're going to play for this. White is so many tempi behind, right? And I got to trade the darks for bishops anyways. So I am really liking my position. Although in this game, Hikaru proves to be one of the best defenders in the world, and I wasn't able to get a decisive advantage. I was better, but not quite able to finish him off. So let's take a look at this classic middle game. I played queen g6. Okay, all of these moves I think are autopilot moves. For somebody who says, well, what's, you know, how do you know what black's plan is? The answer is simple. You make an arrow, right? You make an arrow from this base of the pawn chain. The arrow points to the king side, right? So your plan is to f5, f4, extend this pawn chain and try to attack the king. So the pawn chains are the soul of chess. They're the skeleton, right? They tell you what the plans are. And here, white's plan tries to do this kind of thing, but it's not easy. So this, I did this. I mean, Hikaru did this. I did this, this. So as Hikaru likes to say, connect 4. Black won the game, right? So far, so good. Okay, let's focus, guys. All right, so now what? Hikaru says, okay, you've got this beautiful pawn chain, but I'm just going to play c5. I don't need to play b4. I'm gonna undermine this pawn on d6, or rather attack this pawn on d6, which is the base of the pawn chain. The base is the pawn that's blocked by the opponent's pawn, right? So that's why this is not the true base. The true base is the d6, according to Nimzo, if you studied my system. So what do I play here, guys? Help me out. I'm facing Hikaru Nakamura. Time to panic or what? Yeah, kinda. All right, somebody's already panicking. Don't panic yet, guys. Just because you're facing one of the best players in the world. What to do here for me? Give me some help. All right, good job. I see some good answers already. Bishop d7, bishop e8, bishop f7. What? This is way too nuanced for me. This plan is a little bit too much. No, simpler chess. Come on. Yeah, some people already suggested the move. I really like this move, bishop out, bishop g4. Knight f5 has an interesting idea to play for e4, but honestly, like he can just stop e4. I don't know, let's say knight d2, and the problem is bishop gets stuck on c8. So I wanted to get the bishop out first, and then to follow it up with knight out. Then e4 plan would be even more devastating. Well, Hikaru says, I will attack your pawn. Oh, and by the way, CD, queen here. Are you worried about this b7 pawn, guys? Right? It's not such a big deal. Knight f5, and you're getting lots of play. Rook b8, rook b2. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 active pieces of the game, and you're down a pawn. That a3 pawn is completely irrelevant, and white is completely paralyzed. e4 is coming, very, very unpleasant. So I don't think Hikaru would have gone for this. So he plays, let's go back, queen b4. I say, oh, did you attack my pawn on b7? I didn't notice that. Knight f5, right? Everybody knows that taking this pawn is super, super risky. Okay, Hikaru plays, takes, and very interesting idea. Maybe you guys can try to spot his idea. White to move. How does white, what's the right word? Cement, maybe is the right word. Cement his defensive structure here. So don't take the pawn. Okay, don't take the pawn on b7. Let's see what people are saying. All right, so you guys are pretty good. He plays queen e4, cementing this entire position, meaning that good luck, he says, breaking through my fortress. So many pieces I have to get rid of to checkmate him. Well, but it's a purely defensive move, and I can just improve. I played rook f6. Very good move, right? I protect my queen just in case. Taken here looks suicidal. There's going to be some crazy tactics start with bishop h3 potentially. So I'm not really worried about it. Knight take g3, though, somebody pointed out, maybe quite a nasty surprise. Knight e2 intermezzo. So he plays rook f e1. Of course, Hikaru doesn't blunder basic tactics. Okay, again, purely defensive move. Okay, up to this point, I thought I was just totally dominating the game. Every single piece is finally activated. But Hikaru plays rook d3. And I started to think and just could not find any winning plan. Very difficult position to make progress for black. It feels like I've achieved the maximum. But with such beautiful defensive moves, white says, and what's next? So it's not so easy to break through. So in the game, I played f takes g. Sooner or later, I have to make that move. He played h takes g. And now what? What is everyone's USCF? I believe my ratings and Hikaru's ratings are there listed if you're talking about the players. So now I played bishop h5. I don't like that move. I wanted to play queen f7, and I think I kind of underestimated this g4 push. So I'm not really sure why I played then bishop h5. So yes, I should have just played h5 probably. Knight e7 did cross my mind, but I don't know. I didn't want to trade queens. Hard to say, but yeah, I think h5. But the difficult part though is like knight h2, for instance. Without an engine, it's hard to come up with a plan. Although the engine plays this very cool-headed queen g5 move. So saying, okay, now my knight can jump, maybe knight d4. Knight takes pawn, and I mean knight takes bishop hg. I can start hitting that f2 pawn. White is definitely under some danger here. All right, so let's go back. Guys, focus on the lecture. All right, so I played this. All right, so now the game slightly turns. He plays rook c3. Okay, I have to be careful about the c file. I played rook f7, defending. He plays knight h2. I missed this move, and I realized, oh man, g4 is coming. Forget about the attack. I want to get into the endgame. So I played knight here. Maybe queen f6 would have been a better try, right? Using the tactics on the f file. So if my knight moves, queen f2 is the idea. But okay, I said, now I'm going to go into the endgame. Takes. And again, now it's Hikaru's turn to go wrong. He doubles. Very human move. I think most players will play that move. But a much better move would have been this very cunning knight f1. Again, notice I cannot take this pawn because of this. And now this knight is getting activated. Maybe knight's coming here or here, depending on the circumstances. But he doubled. I played e4, and all of a sudden I am renewing my threat of getting that pawn. So now we have an interesting endgame, and we're approaching time pressure here. He plays rook d1. He understood that something has gone wrong. He doesn't want to lose the d5 pawn. I say, oh, thanks for the freebie. I am back in the driver's seat. Okay, rook c7 though. Man, this guy is a tactical genius. Now there's all these tactics with here and here, and it's very easy to go wrong. I played back to f7. I just couldn't bother allowing that rook to be active. He took. Okay, now I'm in time pressure. I wasn't sure about this position. I thought, oh, this is a clever little tactic. He takes, I can take back. He plays rook b3, another shocker. Okay. Okay, focus, guys. Knight f6, a little regrouping. My knight was under attack. I lost the d pawn, but now renewed threats against his king. Back rank is surprisingly weak. Hikaru, though, very commonly plays rook d1, and I'm still better. We now exchanged roles, which, he was the one attacking me on the 7th rank. Now I'm attacking him on the 2nd rank. The bishop on g2 is still passive. The knight is cut off. Although rook e1. Very nice defensive play by white. Again, just like in the middle game, he is challenging me to come up with a plan. What do you do, guys, if you were me? How do you play this as black? And keep in mind, at that time, I got to make move 40, right? Move 40 is the magic number. Otherwise, I may flag. So time pressure is approaching. Oh, for a draw. Well, for those who are not familiar, Hikaru was so adamant against draws that he would play rook versus rook and 3-on-3 on the same side of the board. That's right. I've seen him do this. Rook versus rook, 3-on-3. Laughable equal endgame he would play on. So I knew that this guy is never going to accept a draw, nor did I plan. I'm better. Why should I even go for a draw? I'm better. So, okay, let's see what people are saying. Rook d8, rook d2. So one idea I see people are suggesting to double. Not bad. Rook c8. I guess the idea is to invade. Oops, sorry. Rook c8 to invade on c1. In the game, I played rook d8. But the best move is bishop h5. A little nuance. He has to deal with that e2 pawn. At the time, I didn't really sense that this is superior to this. They both looked pretty good. So he plays knight f1, and now I play bishop h5. So it's very nuanced. He plays rook b7. He's defending by being active now. Okay, I played a5. He goes knight e3. Very active defense by white. Gives up the e-pawn. Okay, thanks for the free pawn. But now I have to deal with this knight. And keep in mind, horrible time pressure for me. I'm not sure. I don't think Hikaru ever in his life, back in the day at least, was getting into time pressure. Maybe now as he's older. But back then, he probably had like an hour in the clock. All right, so focus, guys. So I simply played e3. I said, okay, you want to take the g-pawn, but now you got to deal with the e-pawn. If you take the g-pawn with the rook, the knight gets tied up, protecting the rook. He takes with the knight. Well, who is going to stop my e-pawn? So he says, I will take the pawn with the knight. Okay, now at least I saved the g-pawn. Bishop h3, bishop f7, knight f5. I played rook active move, rook d2, knight takes. Uh-oh. Did I fall for one of Hikaru's little trap again? Check. Takes. Bishop e6. How did I survive this one, guys? Anybody? I have to be careful. f7 is under attack. Okay. I played knight e4. Good job. Most people said knight e4. He plays here, though. Now, this guy's under attack, and my rook's under attack. Oh, no. Okay. Don't panic. Rook d6. Wow, what a defensive move. Because if he takes, I go here. Now the bishop is under attack. Okay. He played bishop here. Knight g3. So this is, I don't think the game went like this. This is a variation, sorry. This is the game, not the game line. This is the variation. So this is what I planned. He took with the bishop on f7. I took on g3 check, similar as before. And now finally the game ends in a draw. Check takes here and here. Notice his king doesn't have time to run all the way here because that my king and the h-pawn will do some damage. So he has to keep the king here so neither side can make progress. Wow, what a fight. And how incredible did white defend in this game. First, in the middle game, he was in a lot of extreme danger, and then he just defended very coolly with his queen e4. And then in the end game, one inaccuracy by him. My rook got on the second rank. Again, he defends perfectly. So I had a couple of winning chances, but very tough to beat this guy. So only a draw, but this was a long time ago. Yes, 23 years ago, right? All right, so let me show you another game. So that was a big fight. Okay. Let me close this one. And open this game. All right, can you see this game, guys? Against Miton? No? Let me share it 1 second. Fix that for you. Here's a new game I want to share with you. All right, this is against very strong grandmaster. Can you see it against Miton? He's rated 26-28. This is, by the way, FIDE rating now, not USCF, right? This is FIDE. This is a Spice Cup, one of the very first Spice Cup tournaments. Do you know what SPICE stands for, by the way? SPICE? Does anybody in the chat know? Ah, you guys don't know. This game was played before I was born. That's right. Susan Polgar Institute of Chess Excellence. So Susan Polgar, yeah, good job, John. So basically, Susan Polgar opened a chess club. Well, chess club is not strong enough. She basically opened a chess program at a university in Texas, okay, in Lubbock specifically. And eventually, she moved her entire university to Webster. Everybody knows about Webster, but Texas Tech, where she started out. Now there's a different coach at Texas Tech, a different program, but Susan Polgar ran first major round robin tournament at that time, okay? So this is one of my best games against the top rated GM, Camille Miton. So Texas Tech, especially if you follow college football, you know Texas Tech. C4, E6. Okay, all of this is familiar by now, knight C6, right? By the way, you may also not be aware of, but this move, knight C6, was recommended in my book, which I co-authored in 2006. Again, most of you guys, for you, it's that year is not very relevant, but just to tell you that this goes way back, right? The analysis and okay, so this is the analysis that I did that you're seeing here is for US Chess Life magazine. So this was analyzed right after the game. So anyways, knight f3, d6. Oh, and by the way, if you are interested to learn this opening, I'm working on a new Chessable course. So basically entire repertoire against d4, c4, basically every move except one e4. And I'm gonna revisit all of these openings, Bogo, Nimzo, but with brand new powerful engines. So stay tuned for that. Okay, so he played a3, bishop takes, check, queen takes. Now, for those who are paying attention, Hikaru ventured into this plan. The more accurate move would have been bishop here, but you can also start with a3. Isn't after all, the plan is just to take back with the queen? And now white has no pawn weaknesses, two bishops, and a little bit more space. So by every modern sort of positional standard, white is better. So tell me why, again, black is playing this opening. Why is this even playable? After all, white gets two bishops, no pawn weaknesses, and a little bit more space. Why is black playing this line? Anybody? Ah, so you think this is not playable anymore. Okay, so you're so easily convinced. All I say is two bishops, and you're like, oh yeah, not playing. Okay, so playable. Some people are saying needs a draw. What does it have to do with a draw? I don't understand. Knight e4, f5, playable. But I don't understand. You're saying playable or not playable. But give me concrete explanation. For those who say it's not playable, I understand. Well, I just already told you, white has the bishop pair, right? And a little bit of the center and no pawn weaknesses. So that is one argument. Does black have anything in return? Black gets counterplay with e4 square. That's a weak argument. Black has no counterplay. Okay, so that means it's not playable. So it's very easy to convince you. All I tell you is all of these positional factors, and you're like, oh yeah, this is bad for black. Are there any other factors in chess besides the factors I just outlined Queen, you can make an argument the queen can be attacked, but you're gonna waste the tempo doing that. That's not a strong argument for the queen. There you go, in large capital letters. White is behind in development. Finally, somebody is actually thinking. So you see, guys, chess, you can't have everything in chess. You have to pay the price. White gets 2 bishops, beautiful center, but white pays the price. They are behind in development. You don't see how white is behind in development. Okay, let's see. How many moves does it take for black to castle? 1, and it's black's turn. Last time I thought white started the game of chess, no? So shouldn't white have faster time to castle? As a matter of fact, white typically castles on this side of the board. It's going to take 1, 2, 3 moves to castle. That's huge difference, no? So you played queen c2, a3, queen takes c3, right? None of these moves are developing moves. Okay, I played bishop b4 and I took. One of my moves was taken. So at the end of the day, I'm still ahead in development. Black can't develop the light square bishop. Okay, we'll talk about the light square bishop shortly. As a matter of fact, black has a very effective plan of doing that. So the key here is if white gets to develop his pieces and I don't get anything in return, then yes, white should be better. But because I have advantage in time, I have to act quickly and use that time for my benefit. So I played a5. Useful prophylactic move to stop b4. Okay, guys? Now, this is not at all a development move. But if I put my pawn on a4, you see what's going to happen? This pawn is going to fix both pawns. In chess, it's called fixing the pawns. Okay, so first I start with a5. Now, I don't have to play a5. I can castle. He played b3. This is an autopilot move. I castled. He played bishop b2. By the way, if bishop g5, h6, g5, knight f5, I can expand with f5. I'm completely safe in this position. So I'm not worried about that. So he played bishop b2. Okay, logical move. I played rook e8. And now I want to play e5. My opponent says, aha, I'm going to stop you by rook d1. I said, no, I insist. And this plan cannot be stopped, period. So if somebody said, oh, but your light square bishop is terrible. Well, I'm solving the problem with that bishop. Okay, let's keep going. So e3, e5. So far, so good. He plays bishop e2. All right, things have improved for black. I've got this nice little pawn chain. I'm fighting for the center. My bishop is now has more room. I'm still ahead in development. He's yet to castle. And I played bishop g4. So now if he castles, you guys see, uh-oh, you may now lose the game. So it's not easy for white to castle. I've got all my pieces out. And this is the reason why this line is playable. Okay, so focus, please. Okay, so he plays d5. So he decided to lock up the game. Well, but remember, it's knights against the bishops. Now, who benefits from the game being closed? The knights. That's right. And you already know where my knight goes, right? This one is autopilot. I don't want to go to e7 because there's a queen there. d8 is terrible, and I have to go to b8. Yes, it's not obvious how my knight's going to get in the game. He may start playing for b4, but at least the game is now closed, and he still has difficulty castling. So he plays queen here to protect the bishop. Of course, I activate my knight. h3, bishop h5. He decides to be very sneaky. Knight h4. So notice that he says he's abandoning the bishop pair, but he wants to activate the knight. Okay. Trade, tempo, queen f8, takes. Now, who can guess what I did next? Okay, some people are getting this one. It's a little bit counterintuitive. It's a little bit counterintuitive. I played this move, g6. Now, it does seem like I'm inviting trouble long term. And as a matter of fact, you'll see this diagonal is going to get opened up way more than this. But I've got my own trumps. I'm expanding on the king side. Yeah, for those who are picking up the concepts, King's Indian, right? Without the g7 bishop. So knight back, expansion continues. He plays here to give the knight a good square. I mean, this would be a pretty pathetic square for the knight, right? You lost the bishop pair, knights on h1, absolutely terrible. So he plays queen c2. All right, kick the knight, guys. And then I keep going, classic King's Indian expansion plan. Finally, white castled, but it took him 22 moves to do that. So, and I got to open up the game, right? And I talk about how critical this position is for the entire evaluation of this line. He played logical move f4, which turned out to be a mistake. But it's hard to blame him because it is such a natural move to open up this bishop. He's a GM, he understands these concepts. But sometimes one open diagonal, unopposed open diagonal, is not enough. Other factors can outweigh this diagonal. So you calculating takes, rook e2? No, because you're going to get back the exchange, but that's not sufficient. Yeah, that's not sufficient. There's not queen e6 check, right? So you have to be very careful about that. Yeah, so knight c5 is what I did. He did b4, takes, knight e4. So I'm putting my money on my knights. He's putting his money on the bishop. Who is going to be better? We'll take a look. He plays knight c1. I don't like that move, guys. I think he should have taken here. But then, again, he locked up this bishop, but at least he puts now all the money on that c pawn. I think this is still playable for white. The way he did it is he got into a really bad position. I did this for knight g3 first. I took, and I played rook e4. My knights, the rook, and the pawn is definitely not good for him. You may wonder, but look at that, queen c3, you're gonna get mated. Well, the funny part is he did knight c3, but let's say he does play queen. There's one simple answer to this move. Queen h6 maybe, yeah, queen h6 may be a good move. There's more, yeah, you can do king h7, right? King f7 is also good. So that's kind of similar to the game. I doubled, he did this, and I invaded, he did this. And now, oops, white's attack is nowhere to be seen. The king, as the famous quote by Steinitz, is a strong piece, he can defend himself. So the knight and the king, right, they take care of all the defensive work. And then my other knight, my rook, my queen, can start doing the damage. Okay, so this is already bad news for white's king. I'm taking over the initiative. So the rest is kind of one-sided. So he decides to activate the rook. Queen e8, easy move. Queen e4 is coming. Now, maybe this is his best bet in time pressure. I don't know. During the game, I wasn't sure. I can just take and hide on g6. I think I'm okay. It looks a little dangerous, but I don't see a single threat. But okay, he played this. This loses on the spot. I played knight f1, and here I could have won the game faster, I think. I ended up playing queen e3, just going into win an endgame. Let me show you this beautiful win. Knight here. Let's say knight here. Rook check, check, and you can see the rest. This is like a kind of a nice little, well, this is easy mate. The nice little picturesque, the two knights dominate. Yeah, easy. Okay, so this would have been a beautiful way to finish the game on the spot. I did this way. It's a little longer, but it gets the job done. The bishop's under attack. The f pawn is still under attack, and now the c pawn is under attack. This knight is utterly paralyzed, right, defending that pawn. So it just, you know, maybe a little bit safer to not calculate. So he did this, took, and it's over. He resigned a couple moves later. I'm just going to show you where he resigned. He resigned here. Yeah, this pawn is lost. He's going to be down another pawn, 3 pawns down, easy win. So you see, very unusual opening, right? I gave up the 2 bishops, a little bit of space initially, but I had a big lead in development, and I turned around pretty fast. Okay, let me show you another example. Okay, 1 second. This is against, this is not my game, but let me show you this game. So this is 2 famous players. They're not as active anymore, of course, but Golden, let me flip the board. He spectacularly won many World Opens. Very strong GM, Alex Golden. Maybe you have heard of him. One of his most spectacular wins, 8.5 out of 9. World Open, guys. No kidding, right? 8.5 out of 9, World Open. You can look him up. He was one of the most, I'm not sure if he is number 1, but he definitely won the most World Opens. Well, the open section. Yeah, not under 1300. Hey, I won under 2200. I won the expert section in 1995, but I'm not going to brag about that. Try to win the open section. Now, that's a different story. But this was in Chicago Open, and white fell apart in this game pretty badly. Let's take a look what happened. So d4, knight f6, c4, e6. So we're familiar with this opening already. Knight f3, d6, bishop d2. So this is the main line to this day, instead of bishop g5, as we already saw, which allows h6. And you kind of have to take, to avoid the g5 move, you got to go back. So that's why Golden goes here. Yermolinsky simply castles. Okay, a3. You got to give up the bishop for the knight. Where do you know that? Takes. Queen e7. We already know the general plan. Play for a5. Now, maybe you can also start with a5 move, but the ideas are all the same. All right. White says, hey, I'm not caring about getting my king. I want to get as much space out of this as I can. So this is completely, both players are, playing their own game, right? White is saying, I want everything. I want the 2 bishops. I want the beautiful d4, c4, and b4 pawns. I want more space. Give me everything. Well, as I said, in chess, you can't have everything, right? So e5. Okay, let's keep going. d5. Okay, we already know this. Knight b8, right? All of this is well known. e4. Okay, so now we have a King's Indian formation. Okay, King's Indian formation. Question for everyone. What should black do? Focus, guys. What should black do? Knight takes e4. Wow. Somebody's very brave in the audience, giving up a knight. I think it's a little bit premature. B5. Whoa, what a move. Anybody more sane? Okay, C6 is not bad, but Yermolinsky wanted a little bit more out of the position than C6. Yeah, a lot of people did say knight h5, and you're absolutely right. Why? Well, we're trying to attack this bishop if it gets out, and we go for f5. You remember what I said about the pawn chain? So this is your plan. Okay, g3, good move by white. f5, good move. Now white has to be very precise, and white made a big mistake. After this, he is worse. The computer says after this, white could be even better, but as a human, I don't know if I want to enter into this position. Apparently, the engine claims that white is fine. Like, you're not gonna checkmate me. You know, I'm gonna move the knight. Here, f3. I'm gonna move the bishop back. And then somehow white's gonna change things around or something. I mean, this is not humans. Engine doesn't believe this attack, although I don't know. I haven't tested on a higher depth. I think definitely black is fine. Okay, so in the game, bishop e2 is played. Okay, now pawn takes, queen takes. All of this is normal, and this. So Golden, who is a very experienced GM, thought this position is completely playable for him. Looks okay. Now look what happens next. Knight f6, knight h4. By the way, h3 is an absolute must. If you don't play h3, you're in trouble. But okay, Golden didn't quite understand that. He thought, okay, I'm attacking this bishop. What could be wrong? Well, first difficult moment. Uh-oh. The king gets stuck in the center. With the pawns like this, I don't think we have any customers who want to castle this direction. Right? There's going to be some kind of a big attack at some point. So he says, I'm not going to castle at all, which is kind of a logical idea. You want to play g4. But the problem is, I am getting knight g4 on you, said Yermolinsky. And white is now feeling something has gone wrong in the opening. You have to take, takes. Now look at the light squares again. Right? A little bit of a Swiss cheese. The king can't castle. Uh-oh. All of these factors, positional factors that white overwhelmingly tried to get, are now backfiring, and he was overextended. And then the game did not last too long. So h3, trying to sacrifice a pawn to get counterplay. Okay, Guillermo takes, rook h1, for bishop f5. Notice he doesn't mind the trade because rook takes. Knight took, anyways, queen takes, queen e4, g6, simple chess. Now, do you really want to castle into the, I'm not so sure. He played f4. All right, he says, I'm not going to castle yet. I will fight to the death in the center. But the knight finally consolidates. And that's it. I think it's just a matter of time that white collapses. Castle long. Maybe he played this move. You guys are getting white's moves correct. The problem, though, queen f7. Black's king is much safer than white's. Rook d2 e1. So far, so good. And rook f8. By the way, what was the problem with pawn takes f4? g4. Uh-oh. As Hikaru likes to say, SpaghettiOs. Did anybody say g4? I don't think anybody mentioned. But yeah, this is bad news. You don't want to take. You just want to activate the rook. So black's up a pawn. Now dominating position. Okay, a6 is a little bit soft, I'll say. This is much faster. way to finish the game. Now white is completely paralyzed, can't move anything. So let's go back, a6, b5, that was the big idea. And finally, this knight is getting very ambitious. All right, queen d4. Looks like some real threats are happening. Rook e5 though, simple chess. If you take me, right, he can just take back. And that's what happened. Well, at this point, queen e4. By the way, if rook takes, I can probably take, and check. Rook f2 check, and you're going to get either mated or I'm going to force the queen trade. Probably going to get mated. So he played here, queen f2. Yeah, this looks pretty bad for white's king. Last attempt, desperate attempt. What to do? Well, simple chess. Take. Tempo on the bishop, right? No need to be fancy. Little tempo. Mostly on the bishop, of course. Queen has to guard the rook. The bishop moves. So check. King g7, not the most precise square. Rook f7 would have been easy win. And the point is this. Oh, and if queen check, rook f8, it's completely lost endgame. But okay, he did this, this. Still easy win, right? Pawn takes, rook in pot endgame. Why do you need to calculate what if you can blunder in that other line? Whereas here, with the two connected passers and the king is close to the d pawn, it's all over. Okay, this is just a matter of technique. Why is this an easy win? The king is cut off. Had the king been here and the rook here, very difficult to win that. But it's an easy win with the king cut off, right? You just rush the pawn. And finally, white resigned. So now you've seen all of these examples where black gives up certain factors. Two bishops, right? The center. Yet, white loses too much time, and the game can quickly change in black's favor. As you saw, one of the top GMs get completely crushed. Hikaru didn't know the line. So it's a very sneaky line. It's a very rare line. So definitely worth investigating. All right. Thank you, guys. I hope you get to enjoy these lines and maybe you can try it yourself. All right. Bye, everyone.